does wholesale retail design and installation of photovoltaic systems for family, friends, and referrals. Petitioner has requested a closed hearing.
Great.
At this time, I'd like to call the petitioner to discuss the parameters of the closed hearing.
I'm taking my
Before the board
cigarettes.
takes a vote on it.
Yeah. Jesus. We just at 17 seconds. We've been
Microphone button. Okay. Some of the board members had questions about the nature of your request for a closed hearing.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm asking the board for a closed hearing because of my employment, and I feel
put his name on the record.
this may be a personnel issue and I feel possible retaliation.
Board members, any other questions?
Can you elaborate on what you just said?
Because of my employment, I am the electrical supervisor and do plan reviews for photovoltaic installation. And I just wanted to see if there is a conflict in there.
Entertain a motion from any of the board members for open or closed hearing. We need 3 votes either way.
I think at this point, should we not just vote on his request?
Yeah, entertain a motion either way.
Then I move that we go ahead and vote on the request of the petitioner.
Move that vote,
His request is to have a closed hearing.
correct. Okay. So, motion is to have a closed hearing.
The motion is to vote on the petitioner's request to have a closed hearing, either a yea or a nay.
Okay, those in favor, we have a motion and a second to have a closed hearing. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? A motion is to, and a second to have, grant the petitioner's request to have a closed hearing.
Correct.
Okay, opposed? Or,
Opposed.
Just tell why he's abstaining.
I will abstain too.
Okay, so you have 2 abstentions, that means the request does not pass. So now the board needs to figure out what you want.
Turn the mic on, speak back, I can't hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So, 2 abstains, 2 against the closed hearing. So what do we do now? Is the petitioner request denied?
Yes.
Okay, that means should we move forward, it'll be an open hearing?
Correct.
Okay, are we clear on that? No, are you clear on that? Yeah,
Yes, but if the board is not willing to give me a closed session to protect my privacy, I would like to withdraw my petition and speak to legal counsel, and in addition, I would like everything back that was submitted.
counsel, where we stand on that?
Well, the petitioner filed a petition, if he's gonna withdraw it, the board would just accept the withdrawal.
Okay. I guess this matter is closed then. Okay. All right, moving forward, unfinished Unfinished business, item 5B, petition number 2012-04. Oh, sorry, 5A. Petition number 2012-03. This is a further informal hearing of petition alleging violations of section 2-83 of Ethics Code when county employees are allowed to attend union meetings on county time in which political campaigning takes place. All right, the third
No,
continuation,
it's
I believe,
Powell.
on this matter.
It's Powell. You missed it.
Council, you had, provided us with the collective bargaining agreements. It was made clear in Shopo and I believe the, firefighters union. The nature of that,
I provided, the board with collective bargaining agreements of UPW, also firefighters association, and police officers, bargaining units. I also provided the board with 2 opinions from the State Ethics Commission, as well as a Hawaii Supreme Court case, entitled HGEEA versus Kasupang. I also provided the board with a letter from our HR director, basically submitting all of the CBAs.
okay. Board members, any comments? I'd like to point out for the record that, this board has no jurisdiction over unions, or union activities, but however, that being said, county employees who are subject to the county code of ethics and our union employees, and union members, must, abide by county charter to the county code of ethics. In this case, we're looking at Article 15, Section 2-83, fair treatment, specifically, item 2-83B3, using county time, equipment, or other facilities for private business or campaign purposes.
I have a comment. I agree that this board has no jurisdiction over the union. And in all the evidence and all the documents that were given to us, there was no pre-notice to any of the employees or those that were going to be in attendance that these were going to be meetings, political in nature rather than informational in nature. And so it's hard to, I don't think we can say that employees violated the code of ethics. To say whether or not this was right or wrong with regards to the code of ethics, it's a very difficult area to make a judgment on. That's all for right
clarification, please, attorney. Section 8, education and information meeting from DPW. Apparently, the meeting that was held, was it a union function or a county?
My understanding it's a union informational and educational.
Okay. Can you clarify for me? I have a scale which indicates paid, non-paid, work, straight time, overtime. Paid, not to work. Can you clarify what not to work means?
Glenn, where are you looking at? UPW Unit 1.
No, I think this is the county. There's certain areas that's like paid, premium, overtime, straight time. And there's a place that's called paid, not to work. So I need to know what does not work mean.
I don't have a exact definition for you, but if you look at the types of leaves that are under that category, such as vacation, holiday, sick, those are
If you look at
allowable to take by the employee, but they're not physically at work. Yes.
Group number 74, union information needs. Does that apply to section 8?
I would say it does. I mean, that's what it's entitled.
Thank you.
So Glenn, follow your train of thought, so, if it was an informational meeting, and it's quoted under that, that's all it was, and that's what you're trying to get to.
That's enough question. If it is not sponsored by the county, so the agenda of the meeting is not controlled by the county, right?
That's correct.
So I received a letter that was sent by the union showing no indication of what the agenda was. So if I was a state employee or county employee going to this meeting, I don't know what the subject is about, right?
That's my understanding.
Can the county get a clarification prior to the meeting? Or is it stopped because of this union contract, the education information?
I really don't know the requirements. I could certainly ask HR whether or not they have in the past asked for an agenda before the employees go.
Thank you.
All right. Does the board wanna take any action on this?
Because we're determining that the action was a union action, not a county employee action, and we have no jurisdiction over the union, I would move that the petition be dismissed, and I would have more discussions during the discussion aspect.
All right, we have a motion and a second to dismiss, issue number 2012-03. It's time for discussion. It's for myself, I wanna state for the record that I feel that any county employee that knowingly goes to any function, whether it be union or otherwise, on county time, where campaigning does take place, I feel is a violation of section 2-83, subsection B3, and, therefore would be in violation of the county ethics code. Further discussion?
I'd like to mention to the petitioner that there may be other ways to try to stop this type of action. One way would be by the League of Women Voters and other organizations to put pressure on the union to stop this kind of action. And I think that that's a very important avenue. The county of Hawaii could actually go in and negotiate in their contracts, just as there are in some of the contracts, like Chopu, where there would be no political action during any of the informational meetings. But that would be during contract negotiations. And I just wanted to point some of those avenues out. Legally, I don't see where we have jurisdiction over this particular item. At the same time, there may be better avenues to stop it in the long term for the future.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Or any other further discussion? All right, the motion and the second is to dismiss petition number 2012-03. All in favor to dismiss, say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes in opposition. All right, thank you. All right, moving on to petition number 2012-04. Chair recuses himself, hands it over to the vice chair.
Are we kicked out of it? No.
Tiffany, as the petitioner, I'd like to ask if you have anything you'd like to add to your original petition. Any other comments?
Well, I'm just here today to be consistent, and I told you last time I was here on principle, kind of have a term winding down, so the election is over, but the issue is still, you know, needing to be worked out. So there's nothing more to add.
Okay.
I'm saying that just because I had thought this morning, like, oh, should I just let this go? But I'm here just really on principle. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, I'd like to ask you a question first of all.
Yes.
Will the council going to be here today?
She is busy.
What I want to know is, I'm hearing this, there's a problem with this whole concept that you brought forward. All members of the employees of the county have First Amendment right.
Right.
Right. The First Amendment right is that they don't have, is freedom of speech.
Right.
You understand that? More than anything else,
Of
you
course.
understand that one. But you understand the corollary to freedom of speech is freedom not to speak. You understand that? You have a freedom to speak, you also have freedom not to speak. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct, but I also want to point out that when you're in a position of authority and when you're running the legislative branch of government, or at least like dealing in the legislative branch of government, which is the people's branch, then in my opinion, you have a greater responsibility than, say, the council services supervisor.
No, wait a
There
minute.
has to be a go-to person when you're dealing with stuff like this.
Yeah, but I didn't ask you that. I asked you, you understand there is freedom not to speak in the Constitution. You're saying that
There's a Fifth Amendment, you can plead to the Fifth Amendment,
First Amendment, yeah.
but the right not to speak.
Yes.
How about to be able to speak to certain people and not
Well,
others?
that's a different thing.
Right.
I'm just saying there is a First Amendment right not to speak as well as to speak, right?
It's a real balancing act. I mean, I'm bringing this forward to you because like I said before, I've never really encountered this in my years of reporting in Hawaii County.
That's the next question I was going to ask you. Do you feel that the respondent in this case, if you file a complaint, that she targeted
Well, I think that's where we were getting at with the media notification form, that we wanted to probe that. I don't know. All I know is my particular experience, and then in conferring with a few friends, how they were also not.
Other people had the same experience you did then.
Most notably were David Corrigan and Sherry Brackett.
They're not here to testify.
No.
The reason I say that because in that concept of not to speak, I don't think we, as persons in the government, representing the government, can tell someone when they have to speak, when they don't have to speak, or control when they speak and they don't speak. But I think that we go forward and look into whether there's been any, that you were centered in any way, or any of this was directed at you personally. If that was, I think we have a duty to look into that and see if you were treated unfairly in that manner. You understand what I'm saying?
I
You
understand what
as a
you're
person, not
saying.
as a group. I'm saying I don't want to be involved in controlling the media at all from this panel. You understand what I'm saying? In either way, pro or con, I don't want to control the media in any way, or what's put to the media. But if we're directed to you, I can see that you may have a proper complaint. You understand that?
Well, if anything, I would just like to shine light on the need to, if you don't want to speak, there should be some kind of mechanism where you give someone else an opportunity to speak. The information is public information. That's the key that I'm trying to convey. The election process should be as transparent as possible, and part of that is with communication. If you think that people who are in county government have the right not to speak, this is a really interesting philosophical question. I don't think that that people who are in there's like a greater impetus on the county. It's like, okay, when you're a public official, you have that, you're constrained by the code of ethics to not be rude to people, to treat people fairly and impartially. As a private citizen, you can have feelings like you want to be rude to someone, or you want to not speak to someone. But when you're a public official, you have a greater responsibility where you have to treat people fairly, even if you don't personally like them. That's
why I asked you, was any of this directed to you personally?
In my personal opinion, I felt like it was.
Okay, why would you say that? What caused you to say that?
Well, a lot of it's in my petition is, and I think maybe the turning point might have been at a press conference when I was very direct and made the respondent feel uncomfortable, and maybe the respondent didn't like the fact that I was singling her out on camera, or I don't know, I can't speculate why, but the bottom line is that I didn't feel like I was treated fairly, impartially, and courteously. And so this is my remedy, is to come here.
Just on the side, I just wanted to point out that Chairman Dill had to leave for the remainder of the meeting. He had another engagement. Are there any other questions from the board here? I have no questions. I'd like to ask if you could take a seat, and I'm going to ask Ms. Kawachi to come forward. Kawuchi, excuse me.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today? I'd like to thank you for submitting to the board the requests for inclusion on media that you had forwarded to us. The question I have is, or one of the questions, is this a form that you have put together?
Yes.
And what was the reason for that?
There were persons in the media who wanted to be included on press releases and other announcements that we made by the office. And so in order to make sure that persons who wanted to be included on the list were, we came up with a form.
Do you know of anyone who was not included in being asked to request these? Was there any, rephrase, was there anyone out there in media land that you were remiss in not asking them to complete one of these so that you would have an easier way of communication?
There are persons who were included on our press release, media contact list who have not filled the form out. But my understanding is everybody who has filled the form out was included and did receive news releases and press releases.
Does anyone here have any questions?
Do you know Ms. Hunt?
I am
Do you know
familiar,
Ms. Hunt
yes, I do know her.
personally?
We're not friends, but I do know her.
Would you know her?
Yes, I do.
Is there any bad feelings you have against her?
I don't have bad feelings against her, no.
All right. In any of the times that you've been in confrontation with her, have you felt that you have centered her out to withhold information from her?
No, I do not. I believe that every interaction I've had with Ms. Hunt has been courteous, fair, and I've treated her equally, as I have treated all media, to the extent that I can.
You know, from her testimony, she dolly disagrees with you. She feels that you have centered her out in some manner. Is that correct? You heard her say that.
I did listen to her testimony, yes.
You know, bring any reason why she would feel that way.
No.
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. Mr. Chair, I noticed Mr. Matsukawa is in the audience. Did you want to come on?
Go ahead.
Ms. Kawaguchi, I received a listing of all the people that signed this. Is this a complete form? You have,
Those are all the forms that we have.
That's it.
That is what I asked my staff assistant to provide me, and that's all the forms that we have.
And you said you have a list of media people that could sign this. I don't know how long that list is. There's only 5.
Yes, we have, what I had established was a email account with a list of names of media persons who requested information, some of which were off island, and so not all of them have filled out that form. But my understanding is everyone who has filled the form out has been included on our press releases through our email list.
So if I didn't sign this and I'm on the list, you still send me the information?
We would.
That's good.
It was just a way to make sure that those persons who had felt that they weren't being included had a way of being included.
At this time, does anyone here on the board have any questions for Ms. Kawaguchi or the petitioner? Do I hear a motion of the pleasure of the board?
Nothing further. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Kawaguchi. Is there any pleasure of the board here? Any motions?
Son, could you come back up here, please? As I said, the board is very concerned about your problem, you know, as you put it to court. But at the same time, the board cannot be responsible for the media itself and any grievances the media may have against a public official, unless it, you know, in general, unless it were personal, like one person in the media were being discriminated against or treated badly by a public official. We definitely want to be involved in that. It's a fairness part, right? So what I'm concerned with, you say, she said that she has no access to education. She doesn't remember any time that she had centered you out for any particular treatment, and you say the opposite, that you felt that you were centered out for treatment that was other than what other people received, and that you felt she did this purposely. Right? Now we have two sides of the story. What I want to
believe I have two people that can share with you similar instances, and they actually have indicated a willingness to testify or at least send you letters.
Okay,
So
now, if we're gonna narrow it down now, we're gonna narrow down the fact that what I'm asking you is whether she directed this toward you, this, did she in some way direct her?
you know, I honestly need to say to you that I don't believe that it was to me in particular. It was to a few of us. It was to not just me, but Dave Corrigan and Sherry Bracken. And actually on primary election day, it also extended to Alan McNary and Leah Gleason, who were freelancing for me. I can speculate as to why, but I'm just basically, like, I'm sitting over here and I'm just thinking, why am I here? I have so much to do. But the bottom line is, on principle, I felt like I wasn't being treated fairly, courteously, and impartially, and that is why I went. And the reason why my petition looks like such a mess is because I was battling with my 22-month-old as I was trying to fill that thing out and just get it filled out in the state of mind that I was in at the time. Now, since then, I've received regular press releases from Janae Kawauchi. So, you know, it was a point in time. You guys meet at a certain period of time, and, you know, it's not necessarily timely right now, but on principle, I'm following this through because at the time that I wrote that petition, I felt like I wasn't being treated fairly, courteously, and impartially. And, you know, some of us have maybe aspirations to do public good and maybe would run for public office, and what prevents us is that ethics code that says you have to treat people fairly, impartially, and courteously. There's certain people that I'm not willing to do that with, and so that's why I'm not in public office. But when people, they swear to uphold the, you know, the seal, and they want to, you know, do this public service, it extends all the way to the media. There's certain people who are members of the media who are annoying, and you have to deal with them. You can't just say you're not going to speak with them. I disagree with you respectfully, sir. You have to give someone else to speak with if you're not going to speak with them. That is part of being in public office. All of this is owned by the people. So I'm just here on principle, really. And like I said, since we had this go down a while ago, I've since received press releases. But I do find it significant that 5 people were made to fill out this media notification form, and I'm not even really certain what was the point of it. So, needless to say, let's put it to bed, whatever you guys are going to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further questions, comments? Thank you. Do I hear a motion from the board here?
At this point, based on my question, what I can see, I was trying to get away from the general perception of unfairness to the particular perception of fairness. I need the particular, I don't need the general, because most people will find out in everyday life that the media and officers and people in office don't get along anyway most of the time, and there's a lot of friction going on back and forth and vice versa. Maybe it's the way it should be because of the nature of the business that they're in. That's why I was trying to get Ms. Sun to tell me particulars about any treatment of her that was done by Ms. Kawauchi that was directed at her, and if I could find that, I would move on with her. But she's coming back.
Oh, I could go through my whole petition for the particular instances. It was at the point where I actually felt like I was a stalker, sitting at the elections division counter looking for Janae Kawauchi to pass by her office so I could try to speak with her. I do respect what you're saying about the general friction. That's healthy. That's a democracy. But when you're trying to cover an election and the one person that everyone is directing all calls to you when you're trying to get information doesn't return your call or give you someone else to speak with, I don't believe that that is serving the public good. You want to know date and time, and I wrote that on my petition form.
At this point, I don't think I can find it. I'm looking for a pattern of behavior that shows that she does not like you and she's doing something to you, treats you unfairly. I can't find that pattern. I can find that she's treating you, if she treats you badly, she probably treats the rest of me badly too, so it's not directed at you
I disagree. I think we
I'm
could,
looking for something directed at you personally. I can't find that. I think, whatever she's done to you, she's probably done to everyone else in the media, so.
I disagree respectfully.
Thank you. Mr. Hendricks, do you have a motion? Is there a second to the motion? There is a motion to dismiss the petition. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion to dismiss the petition, please say aye. Aye. The vote is unanimous. The next item, do I have a motion to go into executive session? We have to review confidential financial disclosure forms and approval of the executive session minutes. All those in favor? Aye. We'll move into executive session.
Since I was at the doctor's, I couldn't go home, can I submit the one that I would have said? Yes. And, got
Alright, hold on. Executive session, okay.